Halo Pasina K-pop, Kimbali Lagi Daikanel Aini. Tonight, we're going to revisit a story that many fans still whisper about. A story that lives quietly inside old clips, blurry backstage footage, and the memories of fans who watched everything unfold in real time. A story about glances that lasted a little too long, about silence that somehow spoke louder than words, and about moments that made thousands of fans pause their screens and ask the same question. Wait, did you see that too? Years ago, long before stadium tours and global fame, before the world knew their names, 7 young trainees stepped into the spotlight together. They were awkward, energetic, chaotic, learning how to survive the unpredictable world of entertainment. Among them were 2 boys who, for reasons no one could quite explain, always seemed to orbit around each other. Taehyung, often called Tae, playful, unpredictable, full of strange jokes and warm smiles. And Jungkook, the youngest, observant, competitive, quietly intense. At first, it was nothing unusual, just 2 members of the same group growing up together. But then little moments started appearing, moments that fans would later rewind again and again and again. Back in the early days, around 2013 and 2014, the group was still finding their identity. Cameras followed them everywhere, practice rooms, dorms, variety shows. Nothing felt too serious. Everything felt raw and real. And that's when people began noticing something interesting. Whenever Taehyung laughed with someone else, there was often a pair of eyes nearby. Watching. Not angrily, not loudly. Just watching. Fans later joked about it online, giving Jungkook a nickname that would quietly spread through the fandom. Jeonlous. Jeon plus jealous. At first it was just a meme, a harmless joke. But then came a particular era that many longtime fans still remember vividly. The year was 2014. The group traveled to the United States for a reality program called American Hustle Life. The concept was simple. The members would experience hip-hop culture and train with mentors in Los Angeles. But for fans, something else happened during that show. Something subtle, something quiet, something that would later appear again and again in compilation videos watched by millions. There were scenes where Taehyung interacted freely with others, laughing loudly, being his unpredictable self. And sometimes, just sometimes, the camera would cut to Jungkook, silent, observing, not saying much, just looking. In one clip, Taehyung is joking around with another member. Everyone is laughing, the room full of noise. And suddenly, Jungkook steps closer. Not dramatically, just closer, as if the distance bothered him. Another moment shows Taehyung chatting happily while Jungkook sits nearby, unusually quiet. Fans later replayed that scene frame by frame. Was he annoyed? Was he just tired? Or was it simply a coincidence caught by the camera? No one truly knows. But the internet loves a mystery. Years later, one particular compilation video would gather many of those moments together. Old footage from 2013, 2014, 2015, stitched carefully into a narrative that felt almost like a hidden storyline. When the video appeared online, it spread quickly through the fandom. Thousands, then hundreds of thousands, then millions of views. Comments flooded the screen. Some fans laughed. Some fans analyzed every second. Others simply wrote things like, "Wait, I never noticed this before." And then there were the jokes. So many jokes. One comment that became especially popular read something like this: Jungkook equals Jeonlous king. Yoongi equals drinking tea while watching the drama. Fans loved that image, imagining the quiet rapper sitting calmly while chaos unfolded around him. But behind the humor, something else kept people watching. Curiosity, because sometimes, even Taehyung seemed to react too. In certain clips, when Jungkook laughed a little too loudly with someone else, Taehyung's expression would shift for just a second. A small glance. A pause. Gone almost immediately. Were these moments meaningful? Or were they simply fragments that fans connected into a story? That question remains unanswered. Over time, as the group grew more famous, their behavior naturally changed. They became more careful in front of cameras, more professional, more composed. The chaotic teenage energy of the early years slowly softened. But those old clips never disappeared. Instead, they became part of fandom history. For some fans, they were proof of a deep friendship between two members who grew up side by side. For others, they were simply funny memories from a time when everything felt unscripted and real. And sometimes, members themselves would say things that kept the curiosity alive. In casual interviews or behind-the-scenes conversations, Jungkook occasionally mentioned how close he felt to certain members. Once he laughed and said something along the lines of, "We've known each other for so long. Sometimes we understand each other without talking." It wasn't a dramatic confession. It wasn't a headline. But fans heard it differently. Because when you've watched hundreds of hours of old footage, even a simple sentence can feel meaningful. Meanwhile, Taehyung often spoke about friendship within the group in his own poetic way. There are moments when we fight, moments when we laugh, but at the end of the day, we are family. Family. That word echoed through countless interviews. And perhaps that is the most honest explanation of all. After all, 7 young artists living together, training together, chasing the same impossible dream, are bound to develop intense bonds. Sometimes playful, sometimes emotional, sometimes confusing even to themselves. But the story doesn't end there, because the fans never stopped watching. Years later, those old jealousy compilations still circulate online, gathering new viewers who discover them for the first time. Every new generation of fans reacts the same way. They pause, they rewind, they ask, "Did that really happen?" And then the comment sections explode once again with theories, laughter, and endless discussion. Some fans insist the moments were real emotional reactions. Others gently remind everyone that editing can create powerful illusions. And perhaps both things can exist at the same time. Because memories, especially memories captured by cameras, rarely tell the whole story. What remains undeniable is the connection that fans felt while watching those early years unfold. A connection built not on confirmation, but on curiosity, on the quiet space between what we see and what we imagine. And maybe that's why those clips still feel so powerful today. They remind us of a simpler time, before global fame, before stadium lights, when a small group of young performers were simply learning how to grow up together, one chaotic moment at a time. So now we want to hear from you. When you watch those old videos, what do you see? Just playful friendship? A funny misunderstanding captured by the camera? Or something deeper hidden in those quiet glances? Let's talk about it together in the comments. Because sometimes, the most interesting stories are not the ones with clear answers. Sometimes the mystery itself is what keeps us watching. And who knows? Maybe somewhere inside those old clips, there are still moments we haven't noticed yet.